What's up, guys? So this is the first time I've seen all these clips all the way through, but doing a show run through of North America's Strongest Man that happened this last weekend. It is my favorite show of the year. Second time going back. The crowd in Victoriaville is unreal. This first clip is intros, so we get to come in on one of the sponsors is a car dealership from in town. So we come in on trucks. So me and Simon Pratt got to come in last as America's Strongest Man and Canada's Strongest Man. Hitting a lap. It's just an insane crowd. They tightened the arena up this year. It was a little smaller, which I think was cooler. Just a little more. The crowd was close. They had amazing sponsors. So basically, every athlete had a sponsor. So this was mine. Arsenal Media was my sponsor for the weekend. Last year, I had a trucking company, but they go above and beyond with their sponsors up there. And this lineup was unreal. 8 Americans. 8 Canadians. More than half the list has gone to World's Strongest Man before. 3 or 4 of the guys have been in the Arnold circuit. Guys like Kevin and Max, they've been to the Rogue. They've been to all kinds of big shows. So this was the kind of roster where you could have an exceptional performance, like not do anything wrong, and still get 9th in an event. 8-event show, 16 guys. So just super cool. We opened with the Max log. I did have a little pressure on myself, because in my predictions video, I called my shot. I said I was going to win. And turns out this ended up being probably one of the best max log contests ever. So we opened up with 365, went to 400. At the 400 jump, basically everyone was still in. 365 took 2 guys out. 400 took 2 or 3 more guys out. 400 looking good. But lots of good pressers still in. So the plan was 425 next, and this didn't take out that many guys at all. Most of the guys stayed in for this. Pretty cool log up there. So prior to this contest, they've used this log at North America's Strongest. It used to be an Arnold qualifier in Warwick nearby, but they've used this log for many, many years. So it's a 10-inch log with 2-inch thick handles. Pretty unique log, but once you figure out the clean, it's easy to press. I really enjoy that log, but it does hurt to clean. So prior to this contest, the record on this log was 440. Myself, Radzikowski, and Trey had all hit 440. So just to chip it, JF adjusted the jumps this year. So last year we went 400, 425, 440, or 400, 420, 440. This year we went 405, 425, 445, just so we would for sure chip the record. And turns out we all went quite a bit above that. So I think 5 guys hit this 445, which unreal. I'm trying to think of another log contest where that many guys were north of 200 kilos. Pretty damn good press, but if memory serves, Crowder, Remick, myself, Zach Price, and Boudreau hit that 445. And I think Max may have actually gotten robbed on judging. He had to do 445 twice in a minute. And he hit the second one very convincingly. So honestly, one of the craziest performances of the weekend, Max hitting a double at 445 and then still going up afterwards. So from there, we went 10-pound jumps. We were in basically all in record territory now for the contest. We all 5 guys shared the record for the contest. And this next jump at 455 was actually the Canadian record. I did not nail this clean, so I was just stepping around a little bit, and it threw off the press too. It's funny, a couple of the guys getting a little chirpy in the back after I had a kind of a shaky rep. Max ended up hitting that fairly convincingly, and so did Zach Price. Everybody else missed it. So at this point, JF was kind of like, "Where do you guys want to go?" We had a little discussion. I just let's just keep doing 10-pound jumps. So we went 465. Price went out, just missed it, and then it was me and Boudreau. So I had to go out first before him because of the draw. So 465. Me and Max he's just a guy that lives on hype. So he was just, every time he'd hit a rep, just his energy would go up. He's getting a little loud off to the side, and I have such a fun time competing with Max. His energy's crazy, and it was really cool to see Max at his best. So he hit that 455, broke the Canadian record, and then did a very solid attempt at 465, just barely missed it, and I ended up hitting it. Honestly, my best rep I've ever done over like 420, and I was very happy with this. Basically, we hadn't done anything over 420 in training because we were just training for Shaw. Yes, I did prep for this contest, but basically the specifics of each event I didn't really prep for. I was mainly prepping for the Shaw events. This was 3 weeks prior to Shaw. I had to prioritize just the event format and recovery for Shaw. So as far as pressing goes, I've just been pressing that Axel log medley. I haven't done anything over 420, so hitting a very convincing 465. I could not be happier with that. Technically, it's a 25-pound PR because I've never had a reason to go over 440. A couple of the promoters were trying to get me to go up, and if the Shaw wasn't in 3 weeks, I probably would have taken a crack at the American record. But there was a couple things, even regardless of the Shaw, that I just don't think it was the right situation to do it. I think I had 480 plus in me, but they didn't have a scale there weighing the log. So just chipping Bobby didn't feel right without a scale because he did 478. The next jump we would have done is 480, but on a log that's not weighed, I don't believe that's a good enough, margin to do it. Do it in a respectable way. Because I know when he did it, they had a scale there, they weighed everything on video, and then they hit the press. It wasn't, we had no intention of making that a day where we'd break a record, and we just hadn't prepared to. And it just, with Shaw in 3 weeks, it wasn't the time to do it. But damn, do I feel like I can do it. So if I do get an opportunity for another max log, I know Giants Live is doing that in like a few weeks. I'd love to do that. I totally believe I have that press in me, but another day. So move on, sandbag toss. So 16 feet, 45, 45, 50, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, over 16 feet. One hell of a bag toss series. I know I was not going to win this event. This was kind of damage control. I got to go late, thankfully, because I won the log. And basically I knew that if I cleared the 60, I'd get at least decent points. And for me, that'd be a PR. Even getting the 55 over 16 in a series would be a PR. So I hit the old slow and steady technique. 45s are easy. This was an interesting event as far as points go. A lot of guys that were good at bags kind of might have screwed it up a little bit. But, eight bag series is different than just being good at throwing, bags in the backyard or at the gym. 8 bag series takes a lot of endurance, a lot of technical proficiency. So the 50s are over. 55. This is my big technical flaw. When I start to get heavy, I arch back a little too hard. So that rep cleared, but it went back farther than the other ones instead of up. And so I gave the 60 a very solid shot. I do believe if I was just a little farther away, that throw had a shot, but not quite. So ended with okay points. I knew that would be a damage control event. Event 3. So I'm sitting, I think, top 3 or 4 at this point. Truck pull. So unfortunately, it was the same truck as last year, but different surface, different area. They tested the arena in a lot of different ways. This was the only spot that they said would work, and it was just a little too light given the grade of the ground. So all the guys were between like 23 and 27. So it was a drag race, and when the truck pull is that light, usually the guys toward the end of the order are just going to be faster because the tires are warmed up, the transmission, like all those things, they get warmed up, they get lubricated, they move better. Pretty much any truck pull that's too light, you'll see that kind of result where the early guys go about this time and the later guys go a couple seconds faster. The only outlier being Boudreau going last because he won the bag toss. Boudreau killed us on this event. So Boudreau, first 2 events, goes second in the log, first in the bag toss. Then he wins the truck pull very, very convincingly. I went like middle of the pack. And at the time, I got 25 seconds, the leading time. All 7 guys that went after me just barely chipped me. So I did a lot worse than I thought I was going to do on this event. I was kind of considering this a banker event because I won the truck pull by 9 seconds last year. Mind you, I trained it a lot harder last year. I didn't train truck pull at all. There's just too many events for Shaw, so I just didn't get the chance to do any actual truck pulling. So I was just trusting the fact that my conditioning was in shape and my legs were in shape, which they were, but I think I was just a little bit too high in my position, just out of practice, and the disadvantage of going a little bit earlier because all the later guys went faster. But Boudreaux at the end blew us all out of the water. A lot of the guys were like 24 to 26. Boudreaux went 21 and change, so he just blew us out of the water. So at this point, Max was leading very, very handily, and based on my prediction for the show, he was the guy I picked to win the whole thing. And at this point, it was kind of looking like that was what it was going to be. So going into final event of day one, we had the Stone Series, which I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder on this event from last year. I am convinced that this event last year is the reason I didn't win the show. If I could have got a few more points out of this event, there is a chance I could have caught Trey. But this is a very challenging Stone Series. This first platform is 68 inches. So for me, last year I tried to do like a one motion and press, and I missed it. And it took me like 25 seconds to get this stone. I ended up doing the rest of the stones quickly, missing the last stone. This series was 280, 300, 325, 300, 325, 350, 375, and then final stone. Funny enough, last year JF called it 400, and the only person hit it was Trey, and that felt like the heaviest 400 ever. He finally weighed it. It's 445. So it's just a massive jump on the last one, and all of those platforms are at 56 inch. So pretty challenging stone series. I was pretty pleased with this. So found a new technique, shoulder in place, but I kept getting my shirt stuck. But I was one of the few guys that hit that first try. So great redemption on that. These next few stones are very easy. And I knew I just had to hit them fast, because I knew not many guys were going to hit the last stone. So if I hit these stones quickly, it was going to be great points. So at this point, going into the last stone, retack, take my time. It's a 75-second time cap. I did slip when I went to do this stone, and I watching this back, I at the show I blamed it on my arms slipping because it was just a dirty stone, but really I didn't execute on positions. Right here, I'm too far away, and I needed to step in to extend higher. I didn't keep my heels down long enough. I just didn't execute on positions. Even with the slip, I think with better positions, definitely could have loaded that. At the end of the day, it didn't matter. Ended up second to Max on that one. Max very convincingly loaded the last stone. So at this point, he goes second, first to end day one. He's got basically a 15-point lead plus ending day one. I'm still in range at this point. Doing okay because I went first, I think about 9th or 10th in the bag toss. I got 8th in the truck pull, and then the stones I got second. So with this kind of roster and this level of talent, getting a few finishes in like the 8th place range isn't the end of the world. A lot of the guys you'll see as we get towards the end of the show, the guys between 2nd and 10th, we all had 1 or 2 events that just went poorly, and Max really didn't have anything that went poorly. He just executed in a way that I haven't seen him in a long time, and it was really cool to see. So based on these stones, we opened day one with head-to-head car deadlift. Last year we went 815 on this setup, and it was properly 815 in the hands. This year was, I think, different cars, so it was 775 in the hands, and it was still properly heavy. So at this point, I had a lot of good data on the reps. Quite a few guys were in like the 8-9 rep range. 1 or 2 guys were at 10. And then at this point, I think Frederick and Hoth had gotten 12. So good spread. I knew that if I got 9 or 10, it'd be great points. This was one event for the weekend that me and Alec made an agreement that I was not allowed to go full tilt on, because deadlift for reps really kills my back. It destroyed me at the Arnold UK, and we just couldn't afford to blow the max deadlift prep we're doing for Shaw. So the agreement was we're going to get decent points, but as soon as there's a struggle rep, I was required to shut it down. So this year I I'm very pleased with positions. I figured this thing out. Last year I was in bad positions, never done a front handle car deadlift. So this year, getting it done, reps felt real easy, but I made an interesting mistake that I didn't anticipate being a problem. My straps are a little loose. You can see between each rep, I'm kind of adjusting. So they're slipping each time. You can't see it, it's out of frame. Max actually hit a few reps, beat a couple guys on the deadlift, so drastically improved his deadlift. I thought he was going to drop 16 points and 0. Well, he as he did many times this weekend, he proved us wrong. He got some great reps in the deadlift, beat a couple guys. So Max very solidly maintained his lead on the deadlift. I hit 9 reps. The last rep was the first one I really had to ramp. So really good points, but as you see, I get up and I'm frustrated. That slippage with my straps. I tore my hands on a car deadlift with freaking straps. I have never had that happen. I've never heard of that happening. And at that point, I thought my weekend was over because the next, to end the show, there was dumbbell, which is not a big grip, no grip requirement. But there is a max wheelbarrow and very heavy power stairs to end the show. And those power stairs tore my hands last year. So I thought with a rip in my hand, the weekend was probably just over. I didn't stress about it too much because this weekend, as much as I love this contest and as much as I wanted to win, the goal really was just get a heavy comp style, just heavy training session out of this show because a lot of the events are similar to Shaw. So I just keeping positive mindset, getting the points that I could. But I mean, things ended up okay in the end. The next event, we go into the dumbbell. So this was going to be a dumbbell ladder, but they changed the format for the men and the women. So there's 4 dumbbells on the floor. There's 220, 250, 265, and then 272 Louis Cyr replica dumbbell. So it's the real Cyr dumbbell is in a museum. This is like the closest replica that exists. So pretty cool fact with this dumbbell is the only person to ever press it is JF. So a lot of cool history with this dumbbell, pressing Louis Cyr's dumbbell in Quebec. You got to do it. So it was a Trump style event. So weight trumps reps. I got to go, pretty late, but a couple guys after me because I got, I think, like 5th or 6th in the deadlift. A lot of guys, Joey had just missed it. Zach Price had just missed the Cyr dumbbell. Max didn't go for it, but he got very solid reps at 265. So I think Max pretty much had second in this event locked in. My warm-up was not what I wanted it to be. We went real fast from the deadlift to the dumbbell because the dumbbells were already on the floor. So with kind of having my equipment on in about 2.5 minutes, I did a 220, a 250 single, and then I cleaned the 270. Typically, spherical dumbbells are bad for me. As somebody who's really good at dumbbell, like the Bartos dumbbells, I can't do them. Or my max would be significantly less. So I was worried about this dumbbell. It's smaller than the women's size Bartos dumbbell. It doesn't make sense that it weighs 270 and is that small. But I cleaned it in the warm-up and I was convinced, yes, I can press this. It actually sits really nice on the shoulder. I like how small it is on the shoulder. The clean was a little challenging. So at this point, I just went for it. And I knew JF had pressed it once. And, historically, as legend goes, Louis Cyr had pressed it. But I was convinced no one had pressed it for reps. So the goal here was to get 2, and that would be a solid event win. I was very convinced I could do this after the clean in the warm-up. So hit 1. This was a huge confidence boost going into the Shaw in a couple weeks. For this training session for this week, basically, we had originally written a 2-rep max. So this is a perfect training. 2-rep max. I'm going to hit clusters this next week as my last dumbbell session for the Shaw. But this gives me big confidence going into that ladder at the Shaw. These were very easy. If I was pushed, I know I could have hit many more than 2 reps at 270. So dumbbell is peaked as it's ever been. And this was event 6. So, body was hurting out in the sun. Still was able to do it. Then the nightmare of the weekend. So we get into the max weight wheelbarrow. Just a super cool implement specific to this contest in Quebec. Very overbuilt wheelbarrow. Those are giant steel plates that they just put on there. Last year I did okay on this event. I was the highest placing American. I hit the 820. I hit the 850. So basically we got to go about 20 feet. And then on the 875 jump. I just barely didn't finish. There's a couple Canadians still in. They have great hands. So I thought coming into the weekend, I've hit some great grip PRs in training. So I was really excited to like come back to this implement as a great primer for the Shaw wheelbarrow. Well, my hand was ripped, so I taped up my left hand. I went to pick, and I immediately knew the tape slipped, and it started to soak with blood a little bit. I was like, okay, this is a problem. At this point, I was still placed, I think I was placed second or third at this point overall in the show. I was like, okay, this is a problem. But out of desperation in this moment, probably the most important thing in the weekend happened. Two guys had zeroed. They didn't get off the line. So I was like, I need to get this off the line to get some points. So I pick it up and I throw it like 5 inches. Okay? And when I did that, I'm looking at my left hand. I didn't realize my right hand just tore open as well. So both hands are just bleeding everywhere. Not a good situation. I was like, I thought weekend is totally done. There's no way. I mean, guys like Kevin Ferris, Bryce Johnson, all the Canadians, Derwinski, like Crowder, all those kind of guys, were all still in. And the point spread between second and like sixth was way too tight. So I expected to finish the wheelbarrow event. Basically, I got 14th, right? I got 3 points out of the deal. And I thought I was going to go look at the score sheet and be in like 5th or 6th place. And I go after that event and I see I'm still in second. I'm tied with Tristan Hoth somehow in second. But I mean, that wheelbarrow just being as nasty as it is, the wheelbarrow tore Hoth's hands. It tore Crowder's hands. It tore Max's hands. So like a lot of the guys that I thought would go a little higher didn't. So that ended up keeping the points really tight. So coming into the last event, Max had a very solid, convincing lead. I think it was like 15 points. So he just had to basically not zero the last event to win the show. Myself and Hoth were tied. Crowder was about a point behind, and I think Frederick was about a 1.5 behind him. Bryce Johnson not too far back from there, and Derwinski not too far back from there. This last medley was pretty brutal, but very cool. I enjoyed it a lot. So it was a single finger. There was a reverse drag, which we were dragging like a giant turbo from like a semi truck on a sled. So 40-foot drag. Then we had 30 or 40-foot duck walk with the brutally heavy Canadian power stair implements that tore the hell out of my hands last year. And then we had to go up 5 stairs. So just a really cool conclusion event, great race. And just based on our plan, this is similar to the ending event at Shaw. This was another event I had the green light to just go 100% on. And, the podium, I was on it. I just needed to put up a good time and I could maintain my podium spot. So for the crowd, originally, based on the order, Zach Price being in 15th was going to go alone because Simone Pratt had hurt himself and pulled out of the show. And then it'd be groups of 2 all the way through. And it would have been Crowder and Tristan going in the second to last heat, and then myself and Max. But with Max not having to try, Max proposed that we have somebody go with Zach. We go groups of 2 all the way up. Me and Hoth go head to head, which would be a cool race for the crowd because that's really the last competitive heat. And Max just kind of symbolically would go by himself. Accepting that kind of gave away a little bit of advantage for me, but also I wanted the test of going against somebody like Tristan Hoth. That man is a very solid, well-rounded athlete. I think he only won 1 event for the weekend, but he just was there in the hunt every time, and he's just known for his speed. So I was like, this is a great challenge. Let's do it. The previous guys, Derwinski put up a very convincing time. At this point, he was leading this event. A couple other guys had finished. Bryce Johnson put up an awesome time. I think the heat that had Frederick and Crowder, they kind of underperformed in this event. I think the heat and they were just gassed out a little bit, and they got a couple stairs, but they just didn't finish. So basically, based on everything that happened, I knew I needed to finish, and I was pretty convinced that Hoth would finish as well. So this was all gas, no brakes. Let's go, and let's see how it goes. So honestly, the presses went well, but I knew the presses would go well. I am most proud of this performance for the weekend. For the Shaw, I didn't try to, but I have gained some weight. In prep, I always eat the best. I have my recovery in check. I'm training hard. I put on weight. I do it very easily, but there's that slippery slope of having gone too far. I'm about 370, 375 right now. So I'm like, will I do well in this cardio event? And I was very pleased with the gas tank on this event. Sprinted with that. Kind of cool. You can hear my dad yelling. He says on the microphone, "Move your ass." For some reason, the promoter gave my dad the mic for this. Had a pretty healthy lead hitting the stairs. Taped up the hands, basically casted them, because if I didn't, they'd be bleeding everywhere. And I taped them just right. They were holding. Just had to finish here. And favorite performance of the weekend. Ended up winning the event. Just chipped Derwinski and got Hoth by a couple stairs. That man, I was just so worried about losing to Hoth on this with how athletic he is. So I hauled ass. That event was just about hurting more than the other guy. Took a seat on the stairs, and I was just kind of laughing. I didn't think there was a way that I could have pulled out like a second with what happened on the wheelbarrow. But that's the nature of a 16-man show. With such good guys, a lot of guys had events they thought would go well, didn't go well. I had events I thought would go well, didn't go well. And it was a dogfight the whole weekend. I have so much respect for these guys. Such a cool roster of dudes. Probably the most impressive guy for the weekend, Bryce Johnson. That dude hasn't really put it together in a full show. And he'd admit that too. He put it together this weekend. And honestly, he even had a couple events that weren't that great. And he pulled out fourth in a roster of dudes that are like world class. Bryce Johnson, legitimately world class strongman and an awesome dude. First time meeting him. Derwinski had a little bit of a bobble, just maybe a little tweak on the stones. Didn't get any points out of the stones. He was 11 points back from me. If he just had a normal stone run like that, I know he's capable of. Derwinski's right up there in the podium. Crowder was in range. I mean, even guys as far back like Remick and Ferris and Nick Wortham, Frederick, all those guys, just one thing goes different. The podium changes. It just was a very cool, competitive roster of dudes. And organizers of this festival just go the extra mile for the guys and for the ladies this year, adding first year of North America's Strongest Women. Inez, Sam Belvo, and Gabby got the podium there. Up on the podium again this year. Last year it was myself, Trey, and Derwinski. This year it was Boudreaux, myself, and Tristan Hoth. Bryce just behind, and with Wes in fifth. Just super competitive, and I cannot compliment Max enough. There was no set of circumstances or things I probably could have done to beat him in the show. That was the best I've seen Max, and it was super cool to see. I'm excited to see him at Strongest Man on Earth. Excited to see Hoth. Excited to see Derwinski in a couple weeks. This was just a great show for all the guys, and always a great just a great time to go up there. Hit him with the champagne. Just shooting Gabby. That was one of my favorite clips of the whole weekend. And one of the coolest parts about the crowd up here, you can see in a lot of the clips before this, the stands are full, especially Saturday for like the log. The place was packed, and we're out on the floor for an hour plus after the show, doing autographs and talking to fans, taking pictures. Bunch of little kids at the show. It's fun. Like there's very few strongman crowds in North America like there is up in Quebec. There's a lot of strongman history up there. So I hope this show gets more media, more traction. Because it's one of the coolest shows that happens. There's no reason it shouldn't be on the same level media-wise and exposure as like Europe's Strongest Man, because I think the roster is just as good or better. The crowd is awesome. The venue's awesome. Promoter's awesome. It doesn't get the promotion that it should. A big challenge is a lot of the coverage for the show is in French. So it's not very consumable, and the live stream just wasn't that great. But we're gonna work with JF and see if we can improve that next year. So a couple things coming down the pipe with that. Let me know your thoughts on the show. I genuinely enjoyed it. Really excited for Shaw in a couple days. Who impressed you? Who didn't impress you? What were some surprises? Just cool show, and JF is always receptive to suggestions for next year. They own a backlift up there in Quebec. So a couple of the guys are already joking about seeing if we can get a backlift next year. But let me know what you'd like to see. Maybe I could put some ideas in JF's ear for 2025 North America's Strongest Man. Thanks, guys.